Locked On Podcast Network presents Locked On Sports Today.
The house that basketball built was rocking until Tyrese Haliburton and the Pacers lit it on fire and burned that house down at the end of game one. Also, everyone outside of Philadelphia is going to have to get over themselves because the tush push isn't going anywhere. And a new governing body could be the way in college football.
I'm Peter Bukowski, starting your day with the can't-miss stories and biggest debates in sports. You're Locked On Sports Today.
Searching all major sports. Found.
Let's start with the biggest story.
Since 1997, there have been 994 games where a team in the playoffs had a 14-point lead with 2:45 to go. Those teams were 994-0. They are now 994-1. The New York Knicks with an all-time collapse at the Garden, led by Aaron Nesmith and Tyrese Haliburton from the Indiana Pacers. Tyrese throwing up the choke signal in front of Reggie Miller. Gavin Shaw joins me now from Locked On Knicks. And Gavin, this had to have been soul-crushing for Knicks fans. What happened in the fourth quarter?
Yeah, worst sports loss I ever remembered. The year, I'll give you some personal context on this one. I was watching it on delay. My girlfriend, who's not a big basketball fan, was checking the score and was like, "It's crazy." And I was like, "Oh my God, it must like go to overtime or come down to the last second." And I'm watching the game. I'm like, "No, she got it wrong. She got it wrong," because they just kept like, given that context, I was like, "All right, the Knicks are going to start missing shots. And the Pacers are going to go on this crazy run." And it just seemed like it was never going to happen. Like the Knicks were like with 10:05 left in this game. The Knicks are up 94-92. Brunson picks up his fifth foul. They put out a lineup of Deuce McBride, Josh Hart, OG Anunoby, and both bigs. They go on a 14-0 run that turns into a 17-2 run. And then from there, again, they continue to make shots. But Aaron Nesmith turns superhuman, right? They make 6 threes in a row. He makes 5 of them. The Knicks self-destruct in a myriad of ways, not clean switches. Only way you can lose that game, as we saw, is by giving up 3 after 3 after 3. If you just switch hard and run guys off the line, you're still going to win that game in all likelihood. Can't make their free throws. Cat misses one down the stretch. OG misses one down the stretch. And despite all that, it takes just an all-time circus shot for Tyrese Haliburton, who, Peter, if you track that guy, like, he just has a propensity for making these crazy, crazy shots at the end of games. And give the Knicks some credit, I guess. They don't die on the vine. They fight in overtime. A missed goaltend possibly would have won them the game with less than 3 minutes left. But this is a team that has played with fire all year, all postseason, and it finally singed them in a way that might be historically devastating for this franchise.
This is also a reversal of fortunes, right? This was what the Knicks had done to the Celtics to a lesser degree, right?
Yeah.
It wasn't 20 points in the final 2.5 minutes of the fourth quarter in that Celtics series, but this has been the Knicks' time. Why do you think it didn't happen in this game? Like, why were the Pacers able to flip the script when this has been how the Knicks have won in the playoffs?
Well, it's also been how Indiana's won in the playoffs. And I was joking with Tony East, the Locked On Pacers host, like either the devil magic of both these teams, or I guess for the Knicks, if we're going to get religious here, you could say the Pope magic, given who the Pope is now. That's neither here nor there. Was going to win out. But even in those comebacks, like the Knicks, they did put together these like euphoric stretches of perfect basketball, and it did sort of seem like they had put down some of these mistakes behind them, where they played a perfect second half of game 4 against the Celtics. They played pretty much a perfect game in game 6. I thought for 44 minutes, certainly not a perfect game. They were mistake prone a bunch defensively, but they put together a championship level effort through 44 minutes. And I'm reticent to say that about a team that I don't think has been anywhere close to championship level 95% of this year. And yet they've been a different team for like almost 3 of the last 4 games, and all those mistakes that they've seemed to make all season, because during the year, like they had games like this where they inexplicably blew leads. And the story of their season at times was that it could just never be easy for them. And that was part of the reason why Jalen Brunson had to be the clutch player of the year. And it felt like this was just like the perfect storm of shot making and self-destruction that has been brewing all season long. And you know what? The Knicks, again, I can point out that goaltending call. I cannot say they didn't deserve this. Again, I'll use the same phrase, but they've been playing with fire all season, and eventually it was going to catch up to them. And Indiana, just like the Knicks do, they have some real magic to them. They're incredibly confident. They just don't stop playing a relentless pace, a relentless connectivity, and give them a whole lot of credit because it took a historic effort, to your point, to win it.
Okay, game one is not the series, though. They're going to have to finish out this series. The Pacers have to win 3 more to win. But after what we just saw, and we know the minutes load that this Knicks team has faced, they looked dead. There were no legs at the end of this game. And that's going to be the question, I think, in game 2 is how do you react physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually? If we're going to bring the Pope back into this, like how can they move forward here?
Yeah, I think they are going to have to expand the rotation a little bit, or at least trust the bench guys a little bit more, right? To your point, 21 minutes from Mitchell Robinson.
That block was unbelievable in that run you were talking about.
Yeah, 25 amazing minutes for Deuce, even though he didn't shoot the ball great. I thought Campaign, even though he didn't shoot it that well overall, 2 for 7, he was 2 for 5 from 3. I thought he helped them when he was in the game. Like he probably needs more than 10 minutes. Not that for an overtime game, the minute totals were not that crazy. Jalen Brunson in foul trouble all night and Cat both under 40. So I don't want to pin it just on that. But to your point, this is a team that has just been through the wars, right? Like about as close of a first 2 rounds, at least until game 6 against the Celtics, as you will ever see for a team, right? Like close game after close game after close game. Indiana, with their depth, with the fact that they've had some blowouts with the week off, they were going to be a little fresher, but I can't go to the minutes as the issue for the Knicks tonight when, as it's like pretty much no one outside of Mikal Bridges goes over 40 in regulation, and they had 4 or 5 days off. I still think it's smart just to keep guys fresh, like mentally as much as physically, maybe even more so, because that's where I think you've seen it really hit the Knicks. I would love if they played DeLon Wright a couple of minutes here or there. I think they could afford Landry Shamet. I mean, look at what Rick Carlisle did going to Ben Shepherd, who didn't play the whole game in the fourth quarter. Right. Not that he played that well, but it's just some fresh legs on the floor and a fresh mind on the floor. So I would advise that for the Knicks. This team always preaches culture. I think they derive a lot from what Jalen Brunson brings to the table as maybe the toughest player in the NBA, or at least in that conversation with a select few. I think they are capable of bouncing back from this, but man, it's going to take an incredible effort. Because just like forget about the emotional side of it, just purely based on basketball. We've seen Indiana is obviously very, very capable of beating this team, and over the last 50 games of the regular season was clearly the better team relative to the Knicks. So it is going to take they're going to have to find a form and a consistency and a discipline that they have just not maintained over long stretches this year.
You can stay up to date all year on the New York Knicks by subscribing to Locked On Sports Today and Locked On Knicks on YouTube or your favorite podcast app. Your Locked On Sports Today coming up, whether you like it or not, the tush push is here to stay, at least for now. Before we get to that, Hard Knocks is taking a trip around the NFC East. Ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in, your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app, it's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place, so you stop just managing your money and start building wealth. Instead of juggling multiple apps, you can use Monarch to check your finances, track spending, and even plan long-term goals. Managing money with your partner is smoother than ever. You can track shared and personal accounts, set goals, and stay on the same page without the stress. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNFL at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONNFL for half off your first year. Hard Knocks crew is heading up to Buffalo for the first time ever. HBO's summer training camp series will spotlight the Bills with a premiere set for August 5th on HBO Max. It's a hot spotlight cast on the only team favored to win every game on their schedule. But the cameras won't just be setting up in Buffalo. The entire NFC East will be getting the Hard Knocks treatment during the season. It's the most TV time the Giants will get all year, which, depending on who you are, could be a good or a bad thing. We saw how it went for the Giants. last year, right? Yeah. Okay. The Knicks had a 17-point lead over the Pacers, but Indiana battled back just like they've done all postseason long.
At one point doing these was a hard, unique challenge. Now it's not. The Pacers do this over and over. Unbelievable. They beat the Knicks in overtime. Tyrese Haliburton is a superhero. Aaron Nesmith has a longer cape than Tyrese Haliburton. What a game. Pacers down 17 in the fourth quarter, 14 inside of 3 minutes, 9 inside the last 40 seconds, and they win. Ridiculous threes from Aaron Nesmith, hitting 6 in the final 5 minutes of this game. An absurd Tyrese Haliburton shot that bounced out of this arena and back in to tie it at the buzzer. He thought it was a 3. The whole world thought it was a 3. It was not. In overtime, they start down poorly, and they fight back. This team has no quit. They've done this 3 times in 2 weeks. You don't beat the Pacers, they just run out of time. Today, they did not run out of time. They found a way to come back and beat the Knicks. They lead the Eastern Conference Finals 1-0. They've got to defend Brunson better. They've got to defend Cat better. They don't care. They won the game. They summoned something somehow again in the final minutes. They're up 1-0. Game 2 days from now. Locked On Pacers will be there again.
Shai Gilgeous-Alexander beat out Nikola Jokic for NBA MVP.
There's no longer debate or doubt. SGA is the NBA's MVP. His first MVP award, the Thunder's third MVP of their short franchise's history. I'm Marlon Stiles, host of Locked On Thunder. This is a much-deserved MVP for SGA. He was dominant this season, doing things with efficiency, scoring at a high clip, so much so that he led the league in scoring, and keeping this Thunder team afloat, which sounds crazy because they won 68 games. What might shock you, as the Thunder were projected to be the 1 seed yet again, they didn't get here with the best circumstances. They start the season missing Isaiah Hartenstein and Jay Will and Kenrich Williams, and then throughout the season miss Alex Caruso. J-Dub spent time injured, and of course Chet Holmgren broke his hip on November 10th. And if I would have told you back then that OKC would still go on to win 68 games, you would not believe me, but it was entirely due to SGA's heroics as a heliocentric offensive guard who dazzles in the mid-range and gets to his spots at will, able to create buckets for himself whenever he wants, and his ability to weather the storm defensively. Like, the Thunder have a ton of great defenders. He's a good one, and he's able to let the Thunder have a historically great defense, which they've used to parlay into postseason success. This is, of course, a regular season award where SGA was dominant from start to finish in the regular season, and after finishing top 5 in MVP voting for the last 3 years, this is his time to be number 1 after being runner-up last year and number 5 the year before. So SGA wins his first MVP award. We'll have it all on Locked On Thunder.
And longtime Colts owner Jim Irsay has passed away at the age of 65. Locked On Colts host Zach Hicks shared some thoughtful perspective on what Irsay meant to the team and the city.
Jim Irsay unfortunately passed away in his sleep. Just horrible news, unfortunate news to hear about. Irsay, and obviously thoughts go out to the Irsay family, Carly and Kaylin and everyone involved obviously in Jim's life. Jim obviously was a fixture here in Indianapolis for decades. Him and the Irsay family obviously have been a big part of just the culture in Indianapolis for a long time, and Jim's had his handprints all over this Colts team for as long as I've been alive, since the 90s, from when he was a general manager to taking that step back and letting Polian and Tony Dungy do their thing with the Peyton Manning years, and then passing the reins over to Chris Ballard, obviously like 10 years ago. So Jim Irsay will be missed. Very fun, energetic, loving guy by all accounts, and it's a very unfortunate thing, when something like this happens. Obviously Irsay's been dealing with the health issues for the past couple of years, had that major health scare last year that led to him taking a step back from public appearances. And then it culminates in the news today that he has unfortunately passed away at the age of 65. So again, all of our thoughts are out there to the Irsay family and all of you Indianapolis Colts fans who have grown up, following the Colts and Jim Irsay. And obviously, Irsay's been a big part of the Colts community and the Indianapolis community. So for all of you people who have met Jim and spent time with him over the years, please share in the comments below your favorite memory about him and what you loved about the man.
The tush push will live on, at least for now. It was a close call. A 2-vote difference between banning and not banning the tush push, a 22-10 vote on the Green Bay Packers proposal to ban, or at least alter, these kinds of plays. Louis DiBiase from Locked On Eagles, of course, the only person we could talk to about this. And actually, I want to start there, Lou, because Eagles fans have taken this personally, like this was an attack on the Philadelphia Eagles. If the Eagles were, say, 10, 15, 20% less effective doing this, do you think anyone would care?
No, I don't think they would. And I think why Eagles fans are taking it personal is they're the only team pretty much that's this effective at this play, that's run it to this magnitude, this not only the quality of the play, but the quantity of the play. So I think fans are feeling like it's kind of a witch hunt. And I think if the Eagles didn't have the success last year, winning a championship, that this wouldn't all be an issue. So that's why I think people are taking it personal, because it feels like it's a direct attack at the Eagles and their success, because the rest of the NFL, it doesn't feel like is really taking this play over like the Eagles are.
Is there some common ground to find here? Like clearly a majority of teams, now you need 75% to change the rules, but a majority of teams in the NFL want this play banned. Is there something you think could be adjusted where you go, okay, it's not really going to change the Eagles' effectiveness here, but at least you're giving something to these teams that want the play ban? Like, is there a common ground to find here, do you think? Maybe
just when you can use the play, like it has to be in certain, yardage situations in the red zone. But the problem with that is then you don't do that for quarterback sneaks or for fullback dives. So why is this one short yardage play so much more of an issue than other plays? I don't know, maybe like take away how many players can assist in pushing the quarterback. Maybe it can only be one designated pusher, if you will. I've thought about this actually the last few days, but I don't know. I just think it's a non-issue. If the Eagles were running this on 1st and 10, if they were running it 30 times a game, I would understand the backlash, but it just feels like a non-factor compared to these other short yardage plays where it shouldn't be causing this much of a stir every offseason. That's where I feel like personally there is some jealousy underlining to it.
And look, we're getting some reporting. There was this like quiet conspiracy theory. We talked about it on Locked On Packers that Green Bay was being used because they don't have an owner as cover for the league. We've got reporting that Roger Goodell wanted this banned, that there were some other teams that wanted this banned, but didn't really want to put their names on it because they don't want to look like, whatever, to have that be some signature achievement for their team. Why do you think the league, though, is concerned? Like, if you're hearing Roger Goodell doesn't want this in the game, what does that tell you about why you think this is happening right now?
I think from Goodell's perspective, because, I totally agree. If it's from the Packers themselves or other teams, then my brain goes to, they just can't stop it. That's why they want it gone. Why the league would want it gone, I think, is two things. They don't like automation in the NFL. They don't like plays that are almost impossible to stop. My counter would be the Eagles are the only team that's perfected it to that degree. They also, I think of it as an entertainment value. I think when they watched that NFC Championship, Frankie Louvu jumping over the line of scrimmage 4 to 5 times in a row where the refs almost had to give the Eagles a touchdown, I don't think Roger Goodell loved that. So I think it's an entertainment value thing as well. But again, my counter to that is, why aren't you banning quarterback sneaks then, or boring 3rd and 1 runs right up the middle? So I don't know.
I would like to see those banned. Yeah,
please, exactly. So I think that's where their perspective is, but I still would disagree with that.
And I understand that. I felt like, you tell me what you think. I felt like the way the Packers had changed the proposal, where it's like you can't push or pull a ball carrier. And there was some reporting from Albert Breer and others that the league or some of the people that were in favor of the ban wanted the wording changed so it didn't seem like it was so focused on the Eagles. Frankly, if you go back to 2004, the NFL did institute this rule where you cannot push, pull, or keep up a ball carrier, and it was so hard to officiate that they basically walked it back in a year. But I felt like that was the middle ground where you're just like, look, Jalen Hurts, if you just let Jalen Hurts sneak it, he's probably going to get it at the same rate. Like Saquon Barkley being behind him, or whatever 3rd string tight end you want to bring in behind him. Like, I don't think that's the difference in getting the first down or not. Tom Brady was also automatic with the quarterback sneak. Yeah, it's just that there's this other thing here that's added to all of this.
That's a good point. And again, I wasn't personally super passionate about keeping the tush push. My issue was the motivation behind getting rid of the play, but you're 100% right. Even if they got rid of the push, and if they did that, I would understand. The Eagles would still convert this play at 90% of the time because they have a quarterback that can squat 600 pounds and an elite offensive line. And they're not the only. If other teams just made it simple, so many teams overthink short yardage situations. If they would all just run their quarterback up the middle and use the sneak more like the Patriots did with Tom Brady, they would have as much success. So I don't even think that's like the strength of the play. I think the strength of the play is Jalen Hurts, the offensive line, and the Eagles' commitment to just keeping things simple, whereas a lot of teams in those situations will roll their quarterback to the right, cut off half the field, throw the football. So, if they want to get rid of the push part, that's fine. My issue is just always the motivation behind it.
Stay up to date all year on the Philadelphia Eagles by subscribing to Locked On Sports Today and Locked On Eagles on your favorite podcast app and on YouTube. Coming up, there could be a seismic shift in power coming in college football that boots teams out of their current conferences. There is a proposal among Power 4 conferences that would effectively create a new NCAA. According to reports, any school that placed itself under the authority of this new NCAA wouldn't be able to take legal action against it and would be kicked out of their conferences if they don't sign on. Locked On College Football host Spencer McLaughlin discusses the ramifications of such a proposal.
There are a number of different ideas, and inherently, I don't think it is wrong or bad that there are legitimate attempts, whether it's coming from conferences or state legislatures, federal legislatures, whoever. It's not bad that they are attempting to create a centralized governing structure. Quite frankly, as much as we all dislike a lot of the things the NCAA does, college football arguably would be in a better place if they had not ceded power and backed out of the hands-on governance and structure of this sport many, many years ago. The power players are conferences and TV executives. Those are the people that most influence what happens in college football in more than one area. That's unfortunate because you don't have a unified vision amongst the conferences. They don't even all play the same number of conference games. I mean, in the NFL, everyone plays each team in your division twice. And every division's got the same number of teams. You don't have that in college football. You don't have uniformity. You have patchwork. And it works. But is it a long-term solution? I don't think so, and nobody else really seems to either. So that component of it, if that gets introduced and the punishment is if you don't want to be a part of this, if you don't want to be told what to do and have restrictions put on this, that, and the other thing within your athletic department, then the schools that have opted into it, yeah, we're just not going to play you and you're going to get kicked out of the conference. That's a crazy punishment. I hope it doesn't get there. I really don't. There is a part of me that would like for this to all just blow up so that we can reset and start over. There's another part of me that gets worried about lengthening or expanding the chaos to the point where the sport could legitimately suffer some big fractures here. I don't want to see any of that. I really, really don't.
Something like this was always coming. Consolidation of college sports has reached warp speed. And if you don't fall in line, if you don't join the consolidation, you will be left out. And at a certain point, these member schools and conferences were going to say, well, what are we dealing with the NCAA for? Or someone was going to say, some group of schools were going to say, we're just going to go out and do our own thing. We don't need you. We can sign a mega rights deal with ESPN or Fox Sports or whomever and make plenty of money. Why do we have to worry about what everyone else is doing? We don't. And in the power vacuum created by the NCAA, because they don't have a handle on anything, other organizations, entities were always going to either crop up or be forcibly created. They were going to have to be created because this is kind of a mess. And it looks like it's only going to get messier. And finally, the big uglies up front are finally starting to get some recognition. The NFL has announced a new Protector of the Year award for offensive linemen, as NFL veteran Andrew Whitworth noted on X. Isn't just for stats. It's about a mindset, grit, and the leadership that it takes to lead a football team. It's amazing that this has finally happened. It's time that the best in the trenches get the credit they never ask for, but of course, they deserve. If you're catching this episode after hearing your favorite Locked On show, make sure to subscribe to Locked On Sports Today on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts so you never miss an episode. Also, if you're a new subscriber to Locked On Sports Today, we're here for you with the biggest stories in sports every day. Coming up, can the Wolves steal a game in Oklahoma City? So at least until tomorrow, stay locked on sports today.
Locked On Podcast Network presents Locked On Sports Today.
For more episodes of Locked On Sports Today, go to our video on demand. Click on sports at the top of your screen. There, you'll find past episodes of Locked On Sports Today, plus other Locked On shows on demand.